Hey, I'm Josh Pozzi, and a couple of weeks ago I released my visual EP Hostage. Now, it was honestly one of the toughest projects I've ever completed, and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes.
Without you come back again, I'm blind, running towards the end.
I've always wanted to make a short film ever since I first started producing, and I knew when I started this project from the first song, which was Bruised, it just had to happen. So the actual ideas of these little clips, the music videos that would eventually create this short film, all came from dreams that I had over a succession of a few weeks. The dreams almost tied into each other, and when I'd wake up, I'd write them down really quickly. I just knew that this was what I wanted the short film to be. In terms of the music, the first song that I wrote was Bruised. Well, started writing. Bruised was actually the last song to be released, but it literally took the longest out of the whole EP. I was in bed, I was just learning music theory at the time, and I wanted to challenge myself to actually write a song without even playing an instrument, singing, without hearing the music. So I wrote down all the lyrics, I randomly created a few chords, wrote them down, then went down to the studio and started piecing it together, and somehow it works. I can't do that now, I don't get how it worked. So once I had the original plan done, I had the chorus and I was like, it actually could be quite nice. At this point, by the way, I hadn't produced a song by myself, so this was the first actual produced by me. I got in contact with my friend Kate from university, who has an amazing voice, and I was like, what do you think of this? She loved it, and I was like, how do you feel about actually being on the song? And she agreed. So we met up over a few different weeks, we wrote together, produced together. It was amazing doing an actual collaborative piece of work with another artist. So Bruised was actually quite tough to do. Over the time from when I started Bruised to actually finished it with Kate, I wrote Alone With You, the first song on the EP. I also wrote Gun, the outro, Am I Too Late For You, and I also did the intro, and all of this was completed before even Bruised was finished. So the first video that we filmed was Alone With You. Now, as I said, it was dreams that created these sort of plans, and I was like, how the fuck are we gonna do this with no budget at all? After writing down, like, my idea for this and kind of fine-tuning what I already knew I wanted, me and Vince sat down and we went through everything. First of all, we came up with a tight concept that could fit no budget at all. Then we broke down every scene into what shots we want. So like, shot looking at the projector, shot in the basement, behind me, blah blah blah, like insane amount of planning just so we knew where we were. After that, then I was like, right, how are we gonna do this? I wrote down like all the equipment we needed, wrote down locations. All of this did eventually change, but at the time, great. We also knew that we were going to Swansea to do this. We only had a day or two, so we were going to do 2 videos. On the first day, which was Valentine's Day, we did Alone With You. Second day, we woke up really early and did Gun. So yeah, the plans evolved. We had to make it obviously work and be interesting, again with no money, which is quite hard. And we finally settled on the idea of having me in a basement watching these memories back. And the memories, we found out we could just basically do it all in one sort of location and just rotate the set. And yeah, we did this with each video. So again, start with Alone With You, we did Gun in the same shot. So after doing those 2 videos, we learned a lot. And then on the second time we went filming, we did Bruised, outro and intro all in one day. Yeah, the planning into Bruised and to get those sort of 3 videos in one day had to be perfectly done. And we had all the routes in which we're going to walk, the locations, they're all up on screen. But yeah, the amount of planning we did meant that we could end up getting everything done, even though we were tired, but it was nice and structured and looks amazing. So as I said, no budget means a lot of planning and you have to get a little bit creative. So one of these things for the running shot at the end of Alone With You, which kind of goes into the Gun video, we wanted to have a running shot where I'm running straight towards camera at nighttime. First of all, at nighttime just makes everything harder when you're on like a little camera and you don't have like a lot of lighting, outdoors, blah blah blah. It was mad. The next problem we had was stability. We literally only had a handheld DSLR. And we were like, how do we keep this stable? We didn't have a gimbal or anything. We did have a shoulder rig, but the shoulder rig didn't really come into use that much because it's still a bit shaky. So anyway, the way we got around that, first of all, we needed a light. we needed stability, and we needed to be fast enough that I could like sprint full pelt basically, and Vince could still just keep me in the center. So what we did was get my car, we got a generator from my uncle, a massive fucking diesel generator, put in the boot. We then put a massive light, which was like one of those softbox lights, plugged that into the generator. Then Vince kind of perched just behind the generator, still in the boot. He was filming me. So I had his camera like this, boot door was open, we shouted at my mum, she drove, and then basically I just had to run after the car. One of the next shots I wanted to do, and I was set on doing this, and me and Vince were like, how are we gonna get around this? It's in the end of Gun, or near the end of Gun, the underwater scene. So like, when people do these underwater scenes, usually they have quite a lot of money, and you need to rent out like a massive room in which you can have filming equipment under the water. Ain't gonna happen. We spent like 300 quid on this whole project. What I did is went on Facebook Marketplace, bought the biggest fish tank that I could. We filled it up with water in my mum's flat and set it on two like chairs. So Vince went underneath with the DSLR. Then I kind of was on top and had to put my face in the water, and the way we lit it, basically you couldn't see anything above like this part of my head, so it looked like I was all underwater. Sounds easy. I realised I had no stamina. I was like, to do that part of the song for that long, I was literally like actually drowning, so at least I didn't have to act. It was really hard.
It worked. And I nearly drowned, like actually nearly drowned.
But yeah, again, another shot. I was so happy we kind of pushed through because I knew I wanted that shot, and we actually got it done on a budget. Now, like everything in life, there's always challenges. There's always shit that just goes wrong. So one of these, Alone With You, the original plan, the scene where me and Lara are on the sofa and we're doing all this stuff, that was meant to be in an abandoned building. Now, I was trying to find like a warehouse for ages, all this, but it was too expensive. So I knew of an abandoned building, and I was like, right, we'll just kind of go into there if it's open. When we got there, it was full of like people, some Dodge people, so we were like, nah, we're not doing this. So we ended up driving around all night, trying to find places we could go. So we were in Swansea, right? We ended up then driving to Neath, because I used to live in Neath. I remembered of a place under the motorway on a roundabout, right? It just worked really well. We had the road running over us. We had space to set up the generator. We had a nice flat piece of land that we could like do all the sets and have the camera go around. Ended up working perfectly, and actually probably looked better than the abandoned building because of all the ambient lighting around it. Speaking of lighting, one of the biggest problems, which we didn't really get around and kind of had to accept it as a bit of a learn from it next time, the basement shot in Alone With You. So the sort of scene where I'm on the chair taped up, it's really grainy, and that's just because of the low lighting. So we had the one softbox lamp and we had the DSLR camera. It was just so grainy and low light, and there was no detail, and we tried to fix it, like increasing the sharpness, but there was nothing we could do. The more we tried to correct it, the worse it looked. So we kind of went with it. I wasn't happy. I think that's one of the main parts I'm not happy about the film. But it is what it is. That was the first time we ever did a proper music video like that. We learned from it, and it is what it is. Another point, one of the last things that really went wrong, drone shot. So in Alone With You, at the start, drone rises up a building, goes to a window, and then we wanted the drone to go through the window, come into the room, and when I'm laying on the bed, have the drone kind of like over my face like that. We realised pretty quickly that Vince was not a good enough drone flyer, driver, right, whatever it's called. He instantly crashed straight into my friend's house. The problem is, every time we were trying to get the drone to go in, first of all, there was like weird lighting problems, and it was just so hard to get right. So what we did is we flew the drone up to the window, went into the window, cut it, and then Vince came up with his DSLR and continued the shot. I think my favourite part about Hostage was the actual collaboration aspect of it. So obviously I've mentioned Vince, me and him sort of did everything from the film into the ideas and direct and all of this. So me and him, it was great to collaborate with him. But having Lara the girl in Alone With You and in the outro, that was supposed to be someone different. We were gonna hire an actress. It was quite expensive, but it's like, okay, we'll just do that because it makes sense. And none of my friends wanted to be on camera, and I was like, that's fine. On I think the day before, the actress pulled out, so we've already like sorted everything, booked out the equipment, all of this. So it's kind of like, shit, what do we do? Luckily, Lara came in clutch and was like, right, I'll do this. So Lara smashed it. She did amazing. It all looked great. And that kind of like led on to then other friends wanted to get involved. So like in Gun the Masked Men, they were some friends. Then for Bruce, we had Kate. It was amazing collaborating on the song, and then we got to do the video, which was a load of fun. And in the outro is like a really nice moment where everyone came together for like the sort of final scene. And yeah, it was a great time to actually all come together, collaborate and laugh. And it was a really good project to do. The final product, Hostage, I'm honestly so proud of doing this short film, but the fact that me and my friends were able to come up with such an amazing piece of work. The response has been amazing. People honestly love it. People are proud, and I'm proud, and I'm glad that everyone can see sort of the work that went into it for it to become what it was. So obviously this project is on YouTube. Make sure you go watch it if you haven't already. Leave a like, a comment, share it. It means the absolute world. Thank you to everyone who was involved. It made the project so much more fun to actually film and way easier. But yeah, let me know what you want to see next. You want to see more behind the scenes? You want to see the actual process of making music, the production? Let me know, write in the comments, and yeah, we will see you next time.